Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Peak Season Podcast. Appreciate you joining us today. And in case we haven't talked about it before, this is the podcast where we make mistakes so you don't have to. What is up, Tyler?
Hey, Luke, as you mentioned, great points. We make mistakes so you don't have to. And fittingly so, today's kind of one of those episodes where we're going to talk about some lessons learned and talk about some things some challenges Luke's had recently with his 2 new properties. And so just quick recap, Luke brought on 2 new properties at the end of last year, beginning of this year. And those properties were in another part of northern Michigan, a little bit further away from where our cleaning crew that's at our other properties are. And so he's had to hire some new cleaners. And we're going to talk about some lessons learned based on that most recent experience. So Luke, why don't I'm going to pass it over to you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So the name of the episode is Hire Fast, Fire Faster. And I've heard that saying for quite some time, and I've tried to live by it as we've built this business up. But, at its core, I think when we hire people, we bring them on to add value to the business, and they should be earning us more money than we pay them at the end of the day. And that's always not a straight line from one part of that to the next. But, at the end of the day, if we have somebody that is on our team that is not adding value or that is potentially making our life more difficult, then I think we need to take a solid look at replacing them. And that's what I had to do this last week, unfortunately. We had to let a cleaner go and swap her out with a different one. And I never liked doing that. That's one of the worst parts about this business is firing people. I think, Tyler, with your HR background, you've definitely probably fired a lot more people than I have, but it's never easy, right?
No.
And like we've talked about previously, like we kind of bring these people in and treat them like they're part of the family and get to know them over time. And a lot of times these people, they need the income, they need the money, but at the end of the day, these cabins need to be performing at a high level. And if you're not going to help us do that, then we need to move in a different direction.
We talked about this in our very first episode about the 5-star reviews and how imperative they are. Anybody who's in this business knows that there's 2 people that are going to make and break you, and that is your handyman and your cleaning crew. And I would even say your cleaning crew first and then your handyman. And it's so imperative because especially as a new property, you're relying on getting as many bookings as you can from the get-go and getting as many 5-star reviews as you can, right? And you got 2 brand new properties, so it's even more important at this point in getting those properties successful and keeping them high up in that algorithm. So, to your point, the hire fast, fire faster approach is imperative in this instance because, to your point, you just had these properties going live. So why don't we talk a little bit about maybe some of the red flags or things that you saw, that tapped into your spidey sense and got got you to make this decision and do it rather quickly.
First off, when we hired this cleaner, we needed somebody that was kind of going to help throughout the setup and things like that, and come in and do some setup stuff, get to know the properties, put things in the kitchen where they like, just things like that, right? And we did have a pretty successful go at that, having her come in and help us with the initial setup, and we kind of built some rapport over that time. And once we started actually taking bookings, the scheduling became challenging, where I was having a lot of conversations like, okay, so your guest checked out on Sunday. When's the next one come back? Yeah, we have another guest on Thursday. Okay, I'll have it cleaned before then. And maybe she's showing up late at night sometimes to do a clean, or I could just kind of tell that she was having a hard time integrating it into her life and what her schedule already looked like. And that kind of was a red flag for me. Because ideally I would like somebody in there directly behind my guest, right? Because I have to leave a review for this person. If something's damaged, I need to know about it ASAP. Also, if it's clean a few hours after my guest checks out, I have the potential to take in last minute bookings, which don't happen a ton in the winter, but I want to be available. So that was impacting my bottom line already. And I just felt like it was not this person's number one priority. And I would always prefer to have a cleaner who, like, this is their bread and butter. Like, they're showing up and they wanna do a good job because this is how they make their living, not this is side income for them.
Yeah. No, and I think that was a very good point. So red flag one, not coming in to clean immediately after. I know you and I know with Tammy, like as soon as I get a booking, she's like, confirm clean, like within probably minutes, if not an hour. She's like, scheduled clean for, I just had one. So check-in's May 21st, checkout's May 25th. She's like, scheduled clean for May 25th. Like it's immediate. And we know that it's a priority. We know that it's scheduled and that that it's gonna happen, right? So seeing that, and another great point, again, you're a new these are new properties, so any opportunity that you can get another booking, that same day or the next day, man, that's important, right? Because we're trying to get as many people in that door. So that's a great point, Luke. I think that's a
Yeah, 100%. And what we had basically was the bookings would happen, and then she would accept the job, and then as we're closing in on it, it's like, "Okay, I can make it on this day." I'm like, "Well, you accepted the job for a checkout on Sunday,
right,
not for a clean on Monday, Tuesday, or whenever we could make it work." And even if the quality was perfect, which we can get into that it wasn't, even if the quality was perfect, I can't run a business like that, and I don't wanna
right,
run a business like that where every single clean is a coordination where I have to figure out if it's gonna happen and when, and do I need to block days? Can I take a last minute booking?
yeah.
That's being a completely reactive business, and, I mean, we called it upstream because we like to get upstream of issues. Well, being upstream being
Exactly.
up at upstream vacations, we like to be as far upstream as possible, and getting a clean done a few
Yeah.
minutes after somebody else walks out the door is how I prefer to do it.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree.
Now there's always extenuating circumstances. That's not to say that we wouldn't work with other cleaners if they had a double booking or whatever. We do that with Tammy sometimes, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to do it. But most of the time, we're getting somebody in there right away.
Well, let's talk about so that's kind of first red flag. Let's talk about maybe the next red flag. What kind of took place and what was your next move?
We were definitely having some quality issues. That would be the second red flag, and it not necessarily just missing things, not necessarily like not cleaning per se, but for example, like we left towels in the dryer a couple times. So that kind of tells me she was in a hurry to get out of there. Maybe didn't want to wait for that last load to finish, or forgot about it, or whatever. Or not unloading the dishwasher happened several times. And each time we're kind of talking about this, and I always try and be introspective, especially with employees, because do I need to make checklists? Am I not setting her up for success? Am I trying to hurry her? Which I don't think was ever the case. But these are the things I'm looking at, right?
Mhm,
is there something that I'm doing that is causing the quality to go low, or is this just her not paying attention to detail?
mhm.
And so I created checklists on turnover to use, and then I come to find out that sometimes the people that she was sending, or the people that were there doing the majority of the cleaning, weren't even on turno. So then I made a separate checklist that was actually web based using Go High Level, where I had a specific set of reminders. They put their name on the top. They checked the boxes. Then there was a comment section, and then when they completed the clean, they hit submit, and I get a text message that says the cleaning was done by this person. Any comments? And um, even with those, we were still missing things that were on the checklist. So at that point, this isn't something that I can prevent. Now it's her doing a checklist basically and saying, "I don't
Right.
care what you put on the checklist." So
Yeah. And I think there too, it kind of goes, and I haven't seen your go high level one, right? But I know at Turno you have to add the pictures too, right? And so like I always make Tammy or whoever's cleaning take the pictures, right? And I always do the high touch areas. So I want a picture of the dishwasher. I want a picture of the microwave, the oven and stovetop, like the beds, the bathrooms, the toilets, inside the toilets and the sinks. Like I always ask for
mhm.
those pictures. So another thing that just for our listeners, think about those things and what maybe you want or require pictures of. And if you're not getting them, be like, hey, Did you forget to send the picture of X? Because I look at every picture. I really do.
Yeah.
And well, I shouldn't say I do it all the time, but I do frequently. I guess have a lot of trust in our cleaners now, so it's not as bad, but definitely at the beginning, I would be looking at all those pictures.
Are you getting those texted to you or do they upload them internal? I forget.
Text. Yeah, I'm not using Turtle right now, so they're just texting them to me.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that, and maybe if I can design something else web based for them to upload them to, I might not need that. But I
Mhm.
like it being internal because they're there forever for the cleans.
Yeah,
So I can go back to a clean whenever and be like, if something happened, I could go back multiple cleans and compare them
sure.
easily.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting blown up with a text of like 50 pictures.
Yeah.
But once you have 3 properties or more, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna eat up some of that iCloud storage.
That's true. These missed things, um were these brand new guests, or were these people that maybe you had kind of come in and scope out the property beforehand, trial runs, or
In one case, they were guests.
okay.
In another case, well, in 2 cases, it was myself or my family.
Okay.
So we knew about, so it wasn't as high stakes,
Yeah.
and so give it a little bit of a pass there, and also we're these are new properties, these are our first times cleaning them, so I was giving some grace, right?
Mhm.
But I think kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was we had um, post renovation. My wife and I had went in and set up this entire property, the Elm House property, got it all photo ready, and we needed some help that weekend with cleaning. And she had other obligations and basically couldn't make it. And I know her kids were sick one of the days, but she had some other things going on. And it's just like, so we were kind of left on our own there.
Mhm.
And I even, I'll give a little bit of grace there, but because schedules are a thing and it was kind of last minute, but it was a red flag for sure. And then after we got it photo ready, my wife and I were there for the photos. We stayed the night, slept in one bed, like started the dishwasher. Very typical, like if 2 people had stayed in
Yeah.
a place, right? We left it very, very clean. It's our place, right? We had photos the day before, but we loaded the dishwasher, took the sheets, put them in the washing machine, took showers, whatever. We had a pile of dirty towels and took off. And I messaged her, said, "Hey, there's going to be probably construction dust settling. My wife
Mhm.
and I stayed there, so we need like a regular turn. Plus, I want you to hit all the horizontal areas, because there's dust settling on that, and give the floors a good clean." And quite typically, she was like, "Okay, well, when do the guests check in?" It was Friday afternoon. We had guests coming in, and this was early in the week. And she said, "Okay, I'll get there and make it happen." And then on Thursday night at like 10 p.m., she comes to clean, and she's there for like 2 hours. And that sort of, I was like, "That's not. There's no way 2 hours got this done." And it's
Right.
10 o'clock at night, right? So the house is dark. Even with all the lights on, you just can't get a good clean at nighttime sometimes. And
Mhm.
my spidey senses were fully activated at that point. So I had a referral for another cleaner from somebody that we're potentially co-hosting for that we had been talking to, and they just loved their cleaner. So I had already messaged the cleaner previous to this, talking about everything and seeing if maybe she might be interested. So we had a little bit of a dialogue started, and I just messaged her that morning. I said, "Hey, can you go do an inspection at this place for me and let me know what it looks like?"
Mhm.
And she walked in, and she went right over. Okay, which was amazing already. It's Saturday morning or Friday morning, and she went right over and checked it
Yeah.
out. Right, and I was like, automatically, like,
Yeah,
green flag.
brownie points.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So she went right in and just immediately was like, "Yeah, the floors are dirty. We found this, this, this. The dishwasher's not emptied." Went through all these things. And I was like, and these things were on the checklist that I built for this property, right?
Mm,
And what I had specifically said was a normal clean behind us and make sure the floors are done.
yeah.
Because we had already done all the beds and all the towels were clean and all the bathrooms besides the one that we had used. So it was a layup of a clean, and there's really no excuse for it to be like this. Like, really,
Right.
all she needed to do was one bedroom, one bathroom, hit all the floors, and then make sure like the dishwasher's emptied. We did have a fire the night before, so the fireplace needed to be emptied. That would have been about it.
Right.
Easier than a normal clean by a long shot. And so the new cleaner is just sending me picture upon picture of everything that is missed, and I've got to check in now in like 4 hours, which is like our first real guest. And I'm just like, this can't be a thing. And I had already impressed upon the previous cleaner that, hey, this is our first guest. Like, I'm stressed out about it. If you see anything out of place, let me know. This has to be perfect.
Mhm.
We cannot get a 4-star review for our first review. Like, it's
Right.
not an option, right?
Right.
So, especially after, I've sunk probably over $100,000 into this place at this point in renovations and updating and furnishing and all that. And to have basically the weakest link be a cleaner that doesn't care.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, she's done. Like, there's just no getting around it. I need somebody who's going to make my life easier, not harder. I need to know that these things are done. And right off the bat, we're comparing and contrasting two cleaners, right? One that is making my life harder, and one that comes in and says, "This is all that's wrong. I can take care of it right now.
Yeah.
I'll get another girl over here, and we will make sure this place is ready."
Yeah.
So automatically, she's making my life easier, and this is the first time she's ever worked for me.
Yeah.
So it
And
was a
I'm
no
gonna
brainer.
come on a Saturday first thing based on,
Right.
your
Yeah. It was a
your
Friday. The check-in was on a Friday,
or
but
Friday, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Nonetheless, I mean,
yeah,
the prioritization and sense of urgency was there, right, by that cleaner. So, yeah. So,
yeah.
in retrospect, and thinking about these, what are some takeaways for our listeners here that you think we should, based on your lessons learned, what are some things that you would maybe, you know point out to our listeners to think about as they're hiring a cleaner, or maybe needing to consider to fire a cleaner?
Yeah, I would say look for somebody that takes ownership of your property and that doesn't bring excuses to you.
Hmm.
And there's one thing if there's a reason why something went wrong or if they have an explanation for something, but when somebody says, if they miss something, "Oh yeah, I was just so tired," or I worked late at my other job, then I got there and I guess it just wasn't good enough. Like if
Right.
if, if stuff like that happens, I mean, automatically they got to go.
No.
Like, this needs to be their priority. And if nothing else, that I would just want someone to say, "Hey, no excuse. I missed that."
Yeah.
People make mistakes. Cleaners miss stuff. It happens, right?
I would rather
But
somebody tell me that, right? Like, "Hey,
yeah,
I
that's fine.
flubbed up, totally forgot to check that washing machine before I left. That's on me." I'm good with that.
Right. Because all I hear when people give me excuses like that is, so your other job is more important than this job.
Right.
And if
Yeah.
that makes me sound like a jerk, then so be it. But like, I can't have stuff being missed all the time, and I need somebody who's going to make this a priority.
Mhm.
Right. And if a cleaner wanted to come and clean after their day job or whatever, I would be okay with that as long as the scheduling worked. But I would expect the quality to be good, or I'd expect them to say, "Hey, like, I was really tired when I came and cleaned last night. I'm going to come back tomorrow morning and look it over one more time before your guest checks in."
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like that I can work with. I need somebody on the team that is not going to make every one of their problems a problem of mine.
Right.
And that might sound ruthless and it might sound cutthroat, but ultimately, like, this is my kids' financial future banked on these properties, and I'm not going to mess with it.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Remind me, Luke, was did you find this cleaner on Turno? Were they on Turno, or
No, Facebook.
okay, got it.
Yeah. Yep. Which
Well,
honestly, I don't have many regrets because we fired fast.
no.
I mean, there was only a few mistakes to be made, and they showed their cards pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And we ended on good terms. I think she understood that she wasn't getting it done up to my standards after I had given her several opportunities to succeed.
Right.
And I mean, she even when I let her go, she even said, "If you ever get in a pinch and need some help, let me know. I'm happy to help you." I mean, very
Yeah.
amicable, and I don't have any ill will or anything like that. I mean, it was a very professional split. But I think that is why we just have to keep it professional at all times. Like,
Right.
when she's missing things, I never came at her in an unprofessional way or anything like that. And treated the way I'd want to be treated. But that way, when you do have to let somebody go, though, we've given them every chance to succeed. And when you're telling me that the checklist is done and you're not doing things on the checklist, how, where do you build off that, and where do you go
Right.
from there?
Yeah.
It's not like this checklist had 100 items on it. I'm talking like 10-item checklist, 8-item checklist, where we're just making sure that we're not forgetting things on our way out the door. I
Right.
didn't put obvious things in there like clean the toilets.
Right.
Like, right. I put things in there like, hey, make sure that the fireplace was emptied. Double check to make sure that you're locking up behind you and that the dishwasher's emptied, and like things that you might
Right.
overlook.
Right.
So
No, I agree.
yeah,
I think, and again, I think that's why it's important to have those checklists, right? Regardless of how you're using them or where you're putting them, I think it's imperative. And to your point, it's much easier to to let somebody go when you're like, hey, we've been using this. This has been, communicated. This was our expectation. This is what you agreed to, and it's just not happening. Or, is there something else? To your point, you had mentioned, I think, like, is there something else you need on the list, right? I think it's just, again, it's much easier to have a crucial conversation when you're giving them tools and communicating them with them transparently as to your expectations.
yeah, absolutely. And when I make these checklists, I actually ask for the cleaner's input. It's not a one-way street. Like I say, hey, like, what do
Yeah.
you need on this checklist? What do you want your people, if you have help or whatever, that to see on this checklist? Like, I want them to have the buy-in, and to basically, if I had my way, they would actually build the checklist themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, almost 100%. Like, unless there's something on there that I really need on there, like, you guys build the checklist and make sure that we're not missing things every time. Because at the end of the day, these people a lot of times are going to know the property better than you do, especially if they're actually an asset to your team.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm 100% confident that Tammy knows Seven Pines more than I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same with white birch.
Yeah.
Her and Tammy got it locked down, man. They know everything.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, again, hire fast, fire faster. Tap in your spidey sense if you feel something's a little off, use clear communication, use tools to help people succeed. But essentially, if they're not succeeding, then you got to let it go and you got to do it sooner than later.
Yeah. And I can't impress upon people enough the value of having a good cleaner in your corner.
Mhm.
Somebody that is a go-getter, somebody that pays attention to detail and makes your life easier.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's like just every time. I mean, it's like you're playing cards, and you know that every time you get the cards dealt, that you're going to have ace, king, queen in your hand. I mean, that is exactly what it's like when you have a decent cleaner, or not just a decent cleaner, but a great cleaner. And I think
Yeah.
we all deserve to have great cleaners, especially if we're paying great money. And always want to pay our cleaners what they're worth. So I am willing to pay what it costs to get a good cleaner.
Agreed. Yep. They're worth their weight in gold. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, hope you found some value out of this. Please give us a like and subscribe and a 5-star review, and we'll catch you in peak season.
All right, take care, everybody.